ultimately, almost every business is monetizable in some way at the end of it if you build it right. And if it's not solely dependent upon you, and if it has value beyond you because you built processes and systems, because you shift your mindset, because you built team, because you built a brand beyond yourself, because, marketing and that kind of stuff involved. Do you want your business to grow faster? Are you open to new and out-of-the-box ways to drive revenues and increase value? How do you imagine the most successful entrepreneurs and business leaders double, triple, or expand their businesses tenfold or more? The answer is deals. This is a weekly podcast featuring conversations with business owners, executives, and leaders as we reveal behind-the-scenes details that give you, our listeners, the confidence to pursue your own deal-driven growth. On the show, we discuss a huge variety of deals, everything from large, complex mergers and acquisitions to smaller deals that you can do even without significant capital. My name is Kupfer, and I've been supporting deal-driven growth for businesses for 35 years as a successful entrepreneur, professional negotiator, and attorney. My goal is to help you strategize, plan for, find, and complete deals that will help your company grow faster. Welcome to the Deal Quest podcast. Let's get started. This is a solo cast, and on this solo cast, I wanted to talk about something that may seem unrelated to deals initially, but I think you'll see why it does relate to not only ongoing deals, but certainly the ultimate exit deal that could be possible for your company. And that is a few topics that I'm going to cover here. And also you'll notice that we're having some guests on the podcast, we've had and we will have, that are speaking about things that are more in terms of the things you need to do in your company to prepare yourself to be in a position even to think about doing certain types of deals, and also to put you in the best position for that exit deal going forward. So it's things like building team, it's things like putting processes in place, it's things like having a company that is less dependent upon you as the founder. And all of these things and resources that we're going to talk about, make a huge difference, because one of the things we do find is that although it is a myth that you need to be a huge company with huge resources and major capital to do deals, because deals are not only major financing and M&A deals, as anybody who's listened to this podcast for any amount of time understands and knows, we've covered everything from, joint ventures and strategic alliances and licensing deals and affiliate deals online and sponsorship and you name it, business partnerships. So everybody can do a deal. However, it does take some level of resource, at least somebody's time and focus and energy to get deals done. And if you are in the position where you are working in your business as the founder or founders, and you have to be there every single day to make sure the sausage is getting made, so to speak, or the products are going out, or you're the one actually delivering the services to the client, and you don't have a lot of time to work on, the proverbial statement about working on your business, not in your business, right? Shout out to Michael Gerber and the E-Myth, and that book has a lot more in it than that concept. But, that's what popularized this concept of working on your business, not in it. If you're not doing those things and you haven't built team and you haven't put systems in place, your ability to do deals successfully and your ability to not have your focus on deals distract from your core business is problematic. So as we have, worked with clients through the law firm and also through our speaking, training, and consulting company on preparing them and talking to them about what they need to do to be successful at doing deals, one of the things that we've really found, and also in my mentoring of so many companies, whether that's was in the Entrepreneurs Organization Accelerator Program, or other types of mentoring I do of entrepreneurs who are growing, starting up in earlier stage and they've even been around for a while and sort of stuck. What you find is that there's a lot of things around mindset shift, around, which is what it always starts for me, and around building a company that runs efficiently, that is not dependent upon one person, that allow them to, first of all, create enterprise value, right? Build something that has value beyond their own services so that they can, sell it. So, the concept of scalable and saleable. And, that's true whether you're ever going to sell it or not. But listen, why not be in a position where you can monetize at the end? I look at people who sort of get to the end of their business and retire and the business goes away. And, there are so many ways. I mean, you may not listen. One of my business, my law firm is not, nowadays you're allowed to sell a law firm. For many years, you were not allowed to sell a law firm. But practically, you can't just sell a law firm. You can't. It's not like a widget company. It's not a manufacturing company. It's not a retail store. It's not a restaurant. I can't just, sell my company to some other lawyer and all the clients are going to stay. Right? You need to do it in a way where you enter into a partnership and you stay on for a while and you make introductions. There's a whole process. But ultimately, almost every business is monetizable in some way at the end of it if you build it right. And if it's not solely dependent upon you, and if it has value beyond you because you built processes and systems, because you shift your mindset, because you built team, because you built a brand beyond yourself, because you have, marketing and that kind of stuff involved. So I want to talk about some of this stuff on this podcast, this solo cast, and you're going to hear from, and you have started to hear from certain, experts and entrepreneurs who have experience in doing that, which has allowed them to not only be in a better position to do that ultimate deal, that exit deal at the end, but it has also freed them up and made that company more valuable and increased their profits. That frees them up and allows them then to do deals that, during their operations and existence, not just at the end, which help them grow even faster. So the two are really related. And in some of the work that we do with clients, and you'll see some of the programs we offer to help people do this. So let's talk about a few of the things. Okay, let's start at a very fundamental level. Okay, and that is the concept of working in your business and not on it. One of the things I always do, and I have a detailed exercise about this that, I'm not going to go into here, but at a short level is have people figure out what their highest and best use areas are. So what does that mean? That means, what is it that you are great at, but that's not enough. You also have to love doing it, because you don't want to do stuff you're talented at that you hate, and that's not enough. A lot of people stop there. Hey, I'm great at it, and, I love doing it, but is it highly leveraged? Does it make a big difference in your organization? Does it move the needle? Because you as the owner, as the CEO, as the high-level executive, in your company, if you're not doing stuff at that level, then that's your first problem. And there's a whole exercise that, that I give in some of my programs on how to figure out what those areas are. By the way, there should be a maximum of 5, 3 to 5 is usually the range. Maximum of 5 areas, that's it. And a way to figure out how much time you're spending there, and then a whole exercise on how you get, increase that percentage. So that's point one. Figure out what those highest and best use areas are. Second of all right, build team. I was just actually on a call today with an entrepreneur who, I won't mention who it is, who we were talking about, the fact that I've got this team and I've built this, this phenomenal team, and they do a lot of the work in the areas that, they're more talented in, right? It's their highest and best use areas and the stuff that I don't want to be doing. And it allows me to leverage, allows me to do the high level things that I do. And just to give you an idea, my highest and best use areas there are 5. And I've developed them over time. Originally there were 4. I realized there was a 5th. And they've sort of, they've stayed the same. And they are what they are. But the definitions, the levels of them have increased over the years. So 15 plus years ago, when I figured this out, they've been consistent since. And the whole game has been, how do I move from what I, told myself was only 20% of my time in my highest and best use areas back then to the, 85 and 90% of the time that I spend now. And by the way, I always say to people that I lied to myself back then. 20% seems so low, and it was probably 5 or 6% or 4 or 5% in reality, but I couldn't be honest with myself. So as an example, and you should really come up with yours independently. What mine are don't matter. Yours will be probably very different. But for me, mine is bringing in business, right? I love being out there and presenting our products and services and the value proposition we provide, and, bringing clients and to the table. I love doing that. So that's number one, and I'm great at it, and it's highly leveraged for both my law firm and my speaking, training, and consulting company. Number 2, I'm going to focus this on the law firm side because I've got them on each side and they're similar, but I'll express them on the law firm side. Number 2 is high-level structuring of deals. Right? I love structuring, right? The client comes in, we're looking to do some sort of deal. I figure out the client's business objectives, and then I figure out the best structure to get them there, taking into account what they want to achieve, legal requirements, tax, all that kind of stuff. Third of all, high-level strategy. Client needs to think through something strategically in terms of whether it's related to whether they should do a certain deal, they have a particular situation in their company, any kind of entrepreneurial growth, business, deal kind of area, negotiating. I love the strategic side of it. The 4th one is actually negotiating. And again, this is an example where it's evolved over time. In the beginning, I just said negotiating. Now I've built a great team who are, skilled and able to negotiate on the smaller deals and on certain, middle deals and certain types of things. But when we get to high level, important strategic significant negotiations, I handle those myself. It's obviously an area I wrote a book on, my authentic negotiating book, and I love doing it, and it really does move the needle. And then finally, the fifth one, which I hadn't realized when I first did this, but a few months later realized that there was a fifth one many years ago, which is that it's training and developing my team, right? Again, something I love doing, and if there's no way I'm going to scale and only do those other four things if I don't train and develop my team. So that's the fifth one for me. So it's just an example, right? For other people, it could be related to marketing, it could be related to programming, it could be related to curriculum design, it could be related to designing products, inventing products. It could be, who knows what it is for you. It could be being on stage as a speaker all the time. So, figure that out. That's point one. Then what you do is you go and figure out what processes you have to put in place and build a team. Now, with regard to the building a team concept, and this is what I started to say a moment ago with this entrepreneur I was talking to today. This person said to me, listen, you've built this, amazing team, you've been able to scale. He said, I'm super good at what I do, but my problem is that I have not been able to, or I have not chosen to hire a team. I haven't gotten the right people. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I don't think anybody's going to do it as good as I do. Well, that's a classic problem. The perfectionist thing, and also the lack of trust and ability to find people. But often the ability to find people is not really the thing, because there are quality people out there. Trust me, I've found them. Sometimes for certain positions, I'm not saying it's less easy than others, but ultimately you can find the right people out there. But the perception that there isn't the right people, right person out there, because you are the kind of person that needs to do it yourself, that has, it has to be perfect. And anytime somebody else does it differently or whatever, it's not good enough. And I shared with this person that many years ago, we had a speaker who I wish I could credit them. I don't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure it was an entrepreneurs organization person out of Las Vegas who built a very successful, tens of millions of dollars company. And what they said was that their view, they used to be that way, and that their view and approach is that if somebody can do it 80% as good as them, that's when they delegate it. And they just kept building people. Now, listen, I want to acknowledge that if you are a brain surgeon, you're not going to put somebody in there, and that's not the kind of business that lends itself to leveraging somebody who can do it 80% as good. And even in what I do as a lawyer, right, as to certain expertise and et cetera, it can't be somebody who, who's only 80% as good. But just that concept as a mindset shift is helpful, because even on my law firm side, what it gets you out of is the fact that often some people do it differently and it doesn't seem like it is as good, but you know what? Maybe it's as good, sometimes it's even better. And also, even if the person could do something 80% as good, it might be the kind of thing where they're going to get it 80% there, right? So in other words, instead of drafting the marketing piece or the legal document or the, or the curriculum or designing the product 100% yourself, if somebody can get it 80% there and then you can pick it up from there, obviously it cuts down on your time. So that's an interesting concept. So the ability to build, find, and trust, and empower team, and to let go of control and perfectionism is a huge next step that people have to deal with. And then how do you systemize? How do you keep repeatable systems in place instead of reinventing the wheel every time? So, we're going to be addressing and dealing with a lot of that kind of stuff in various of our programs, some of which you'll hear about right now. Let's take a break from the show for a minute so I can invite you to join our DealQuest community group on Facebook. There, you'll have a chance to engage with other entrepreneurs, business owners, executives, and leaders who are looking to grow, do deals, and make a bigger impact. In addition to the great content and community, you can also register there for our Conversations community and cocktail Zoom calls and the upcoming Deal Den Zoom calls, during which you will have the opportunity to brainstorm and get support with deal-driven growth for your company. Now back to the show. Okay, folks, so we're back. So listen, whether you work with us and any things that we're doing, or you listen to the guests we're going to have on this podcast, or you read other resources for it, in order to be in a position, one, to just have a successful business that's grown organically and that scales in a way that's not dependent upon you, so you have a better lifestyle, right? So you're not working 20 hours a day, so that you're not under stress all the time, so that you can also bring in expertise and surround yourself with people who are better at certain things than you do. Independent of deals, this is the body of work that, that needs to be done. But then, as I said in the beginning, and I want to explore this a little more, think about it. If you have more capacity, more team built, if you have systemized things, because you're acting in your highest and best use areas, you are now leveraging what you're best at, which means that you're going to be producing more revenue. And now you've built this team who's also either producing revenue and or helping getting the work done, depending upon what your model is. Then not only are you going to have more time, which is for many of us our most valuable resource, but also you should be more successful. So that means you're making more money, which is great personally, great for the business, et cetera. But also then you have more time, more capital, and more labor resources, more expertise resources, more intellectual property and personal, intellectual capability in your team to be able to focus yourself and maybe some of your team on deals, right? In some deals, you got to put numbers together. Well, if you built up a capacity of a team and a finance team, bookkeeper, accountant, internal finance people, et cetera, well, they can pull the numbers together for you, right? If you have marketing people you've built up, then they could put together the marketing materials either to attract that deal partner and or for the joint venture or strategic alliance that you're going to do. So doing these things helps you grow organically and then makes more deals, more types of deals, bigger types of deals available to you inorganically through deal-driven growth. And then, of course, increases your enterprise value and valuation on the back end. So what are some of the things that stand in the way of, why doesn't every entrepreneur do this? Why are there so many solo entrepreneurs and very small companies out there that want to grow, that are struggling and can't get beyond that? So I want to hit just on a few things that I think about, and we address. You'll hear some more from various of our guests that we have on the podcast here, and and definitely delve in through some of our programs. But so first thing I want to acknowledge before I go to this is that there are some portion of solopreneurs and very small companies that do it by choice, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's everything right with that if that's what you want to do. Right? I always preach self-awareness, and nobody has to grow or scale for the sake of growth and scale. In the entrepreneurial community, there's this pressure to grow and there's this judgment, and I've talked about this in the past, of people who don't want to grow, and there's this derogatory, often negative connotation of lifestyle businesses. And many of you have heard me say, I don't buy into that. I think every business should be a lifestyle business, whether it's conquering the world and raising billions of dollars in venture capital and public money, or whether it's somebody, a solo person at home. For the founder, that business should be aligned with the life they want to create, whatever that looks like. So for me, that's the definition of lifestyle business. But my point is that, if you are happy being a solopreneur, you're not looking to scale, you're not looking to build a team, you're not looking to build enterprise value, you can make a nice living and you're fine with not monetizing in the back end, then do do it. And many of the companies that are, whether it's solopreneurs or smaller companies, are actually looking to scale, maybe not, to become the next Facebook or Tesla, but to get to a place where the company is less dependent upon them, where they can build some level of scale and team, where they can build some sort of enterprise value, and where they can have less stress and have more time for their lives. So if you're in that category where you're looking to grow, those are the people that I love working with. Those are our ideal clients and whatever in all my businesses. Those are my friends and the people I hang out with. Are interesting entrepreneurs who are always looking for opportunities. That's what's fun to me. So if you're that kind of person, then okay, great. So then what has stopped you from doing that to date? And the place to always start in my mind is with yourself and with myself. And the main reason I think say this with credibility is because I've been through this journey, right? I started as a solo attorney, all right, working from my studio apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, where I was paying rent stabilized $600 a month, renting the conference room by the hour for the meeting or two I had, for any kind of client I developed back then, right? I've scaled my law firm. I built, other businesses. I've worked with clients to do that. And I'm in a place now where many of I'm bi-coastal, outside of, when you can travel. And, I do a lot of travel and retreats, and, my clients are well served and my company grows and my team is in place, right? So I've developed my business in a way where they serve my life while also growing and providing a great place for employees and providing great products for services. So, I'm speaking from experience here and saying to you that it starts with us. It starts with our limiting beliefs. It starts with our, meaning the founders, meaning the key executives, our mindset, and shifting those to have a different relationship to our companies, to being open to learning and growth, to going to programs, seminars, not only on business growth and at systemization and how to build a team, but also on personal growth, because your own limiting beliefs, your own fear and scarcity, your own, things, whether they came up from, your relationship to money is a huge one. I can't tell you how much work I've done on my relationship to money, how many books I've read, programs I've taken, doing all of this, because that, is what, listen, lower middle class kid from Brooklyn, right? Thought I was rich when I first got a job in a big law firm, making any kind of real money in 1985. It was $40,000 a year. I thought, wow, that's amazing. But had to learn how to, relate to money. I had to be able to hold in my being my value and be able to raise that over time and know that I am providing great value to clients as I raise my rates over time. Right. Then I had to learn a new lesson, which was I used to make a lot of money and it would all disappear. And then I had to learn how to build wealth. Shout out to Barbara Buson, who was a money coach, who gave me that distinction. She said, boy, you know how to make money. You just don't know how to build wealth, many years ago. And you know what? Ever since I started building wealth, the thing is, no matter what I did in business, if I didn't have those mindset shifts about my relationship to money, if you're not in a position where you value what you provide and you can stand in the value of that, as opposed to feeling like an imposter or being in scarcity or, not valuing yourself, if you don't make that shift to do that, if you don't make your shift to build wealth, if you don't make that shift to come from an abundance mentality as opposed to a scarcity mentality, then I don't care what skills you learn in business, you're going to be limited. It's just the way it works. So that internal body of work that we need to do, not only around money, but around, self-worth, around confidence, around ability to trust and delegate, are the key initial steps. And then, yes, do we need to learn skills? Do we need to learn? I've done some great courses on how to systemize my business, on how to train other people, on how to, create a culture in my company where my employees, love being there, where they're valued, where their input is heard, and, figuring out how, I was going to say how to keep them motivated, but frankly, I hire a lot of self-motivated folks. So, but I do still, need to hold them accountable to results as opposed to tasks. So all of that stuff is stuff that we need to learn as entrepreneurs and continue to develop in a way that would allow our businesses to scale. And throughout the programs we do, we give a lot of outside resources, even just on my website, on CoreyKupfer.com, on the, my personal brand website. There is a list of, in resources, a list of mentors of mine. Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, which definitely is a seminal thing for me, the work I've done with Bob Proctor and others. So the message is this: if you want to be able to do more and more deal-driven growth, getting your business running in a way where it's organically successful, where it's less dependent upon you, where you've built team, where you've put processes in place, where you are generating more free cash flow, where you've freed up your time, is going to put you in the best position to also be able to then augment that, or really at times, multiply that by doing deal-driven growth as well. And then, of course, then it feeds back into your ability to continue to scale and build team and put new processes in place when you get to that next level. Yeah. So, listen in. What I am committed to is not only deal-driven growth, but really entrepreneurial freedom. And you'll see that in some of the stuff we're doing with our entrepreneurial freedom plan. And if you have any questions, definitely reach out. Yeah, I just love working with entrepreneurs. I love helping people achieve their dreams and visions. And folks, there's some tough inner work we all need to do and that I've done. So if you're looking for the quick tip or the fix or the single thing that's going to have it snap all into place for you, there may be something that comes in terms of a mindset shift. But if you're looking for that surface level tip, I'm not the guy, right? Anything I do is not about that. There's work to be done. And a lot of it's the internal work. So if you're willing to do that, then keep listening and, check out some of the other stuff we're doing. With that, I will sign out for this week. Look forward to speaking to you next week. Take care. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Deal Quest, where we help you understand how deal-driven growth can be your ticket to freedom. You can be a friend of the show by leaving a review on the Good Pods app, podchaser.com, or any major podcast player. Every review helps the show reach more listeners. If you're ready to take your deal making to the next level by becoming a master negotiator, head over to Amazon or Audible and grab a copy of my best-selling book, Authentic Negotiating. Then connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts. I'm Corey Kupfer. Until next week, wishing you the freedom and financial prosperity that I know your deal quest will bring.